So you could buy it in Peyton Manning's bottle for $200, or you could buy it anywhere for $30 under its original name, which was Dickel 13, Bald
Wait,
and Bond.
Dickel? I'm not drinking anything named Dickel, first of all. I'm not doing that. I'm childish.
You look like you've enjoyed a Dickel or two in your day.
All right, this interview is over. Oh, joining me on the show right now, from the Whiskey Neat Show on ESPN. You can hear it every Saturday. Every Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's a good guess. I know it definitely airs on YouTube on Fridays.
Okay.
No, don't feel bad. I'm not sure either. So it depends on what mood mood AJ's in.
Yeah. So you can hear Whiskey Neat on ESPN, also on YouTube. Kristopher Hart joins me. Thank you for being here, man.
Dude, I'm glad you brought me in a little early because my comment, I think, was something that I wish someone had taught me sooner. I didn't have a dad growing up, so there are certain jobs that are completely. Now, this might be a little controversial in case anyone in your audience is still at one of these jobs, but there were jobs I wish I had taken that I wish someone would told me like this. If I had a kid in high school. I'm married with 4 kids now. There are, in order to achieve, being a homeowner and the things that you're hoping for in life, certain jobs are great at certain stages of your development, but at a certain point, you got to stop working at Starbucks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're trying to get through school, there are certain jobs that are great, or if they're intermediary jobs, that's going to lead you to the next thing. But I think it's important that at a certain point in time that like if you want to be on your own and not like own a home, then you're gonna need to. What is that? What's happening?
Oh, that was a super chat. We'll get to it.
Gotcha.
Keep going.
Yeah, I've got friends and family that at a certain point with my brother, I was like, you gotta go work at FedEx. Like go get a job, that's got a salary potential and things to do. And if I had known early on, I would have quit working at the mall a lot sooner than I did.
Yeah, I think some people get caught into that, right? Like, I think some people don't know what they want to be. They don't know what they want to do. And maybe they're just like, well, I'm just going to get by until I figure it out. Because let's be real, not everybody has their whole life planned when they're 20 or even 30. I mean, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. And then I got into radio and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And then I got into stand up and I was like, I want to do these things. I was 38. Now, I mean, I had been working at Fortune 50 companies for 20 years in IT. So but I think, I think some of it is too skill set. Let's be honest. Not everybody can be a computer programmer. Not everybody can do manual labor. Some people are too weak to go out and perform those jobs, or certain jobs require both physical and mental capabilities that some people don't have. So but the point you make is valid. At some point, you have to know when to stop working for minimum wage or in a low paying job if you want to continue to grow and achieve certain things, right? And have certain things. Now, if you don't, cool. That's that's up to you. But there is that moment where you have to take that leap.
Some people are happy where they're at, and that's fine. But if you have long-term plans, you need to be able to reevaluate your current status and where it's going and compare that to what you're wanting out of life. There's nothing wrong with working at any of these places. But at a certain point, you got to realize, I remember growing up when I was a store manager at a jewelry store, and I thought that $32,000 a year was a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And in retrospect, I had no one there to tell me that if you're wanting these things in life, especially with 4 kids, that I need to do more. And so having that guidance would have been really helpful. I didn't have it.
And there's other things too, right, that come along with that. Like I said, like how to do a resume, how to go after the job you want, right? What do you do? Because White Magic, Deckhead, is a big opponent of education. He doesn't think people need college in order to succeed. I personally, I think if you want to go to college, go to college. I think it has its benefits. I'm not a guy that went to college. I went to community college. I have an associate's degree from Lone Star that I don't even technically have because I never filled out the paperwork. I have the hours for it. But I spent 20 years in a Fortune 50 company in IT, bouncing around Fortune 50 companies in IT. Like I didn't need the college education because I was able to get my foot in the door. I had some street smarts and a buddy of mine, but I used my life skills to move up the corporate ladder, and I had the intelligence to be able to pick up what I needed to learn and the drive to study and learn it. I mean, I still got educated in other ways. It just wasn't college. So I think the bottom line is there are so many ways you can be successful in life. Money also doesn't equal success. I just want to make clear that that's not what we're saying. We're not saying you have to have money in order to be successful. That sounds
like a poor person mentality.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I agree with you.
That doesn't, I mean, you can be happy, and if you're happy, then that is success, right? So if you're happy doing what you do, you may make the most money in the world, but if you pay your bills and you enjoy the fuck out of your job, you're successful. Getting there is what you need to learn.
I agree with White Mike as well. I don't think it's necessary depending on the field. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you are in a certain field, there is a proverbial glass ceiling that you can't hit without some sort of degree. But do you need one to be successful in life? Absolutely not. Yeah. So it just depends on where you're at, who you are. Justin says, I got 2 degrees. Yeah, it just depends. Yeah, where you are. I mean, look, the company.
But sorry.
The company I used to work for, you couldn't be a manager, and not even a good manager, a middle manager, without at least an associate's.
Yeah.
And I've got one. I've got a degree. I'm working on another one right now, actually. But I just, I've got all this time now for pandemic wise to do more than just sit on my thumbs. But I didn't agree with that idea because I don't think managing a team is necessarily, paramount to you having a degree that has nothing to do with the field you're in.
Yeah.
A lot of people just require a degree.
They have to
if your degree's in finance, if you got a degree in finance but you work in aviation, then what does that have to do with each other?
Yeah, unless you're managing the finance department. But if you're fucking managing the warehouse, what the fuck doesn't matter? Yeah, I agree with you in that regard. My dad ran into the same thing. My dad he worked for Brown and Root / Halliburton for over 40 years and could never move up the corporate ladder any further than he was at in 40 years because he didn't have a degree. Not because he wasn't qualified, not because he wasn't smart enough, and not because he wasn't capable enough in managing people to move up. They just required you have to have a college degree to go past the point he was at. And in 40 years, he was never able to do that. So it is a silly requirement. I think on its merits, it has some things that, it has some obviously benefits.
Sure.
But it shouldn't be the sole requirement. By the way, Jasper, thank you. He said, handsome Barry. Thank you, Jasper.
That's
okay. I got a question. I got a super chat. You were wondering what that meow was. That's my super chat notification. I got one from Francisco Abarca. And he said, ask Chris what his opinion is of Bud Light. We've had this conversation. And you're not.
You and I have?
Yeah, you and I have. Way back when you did one of my first shows, we talked about it. We talked about my rudimentary palate, my caveman palate. But I think that, and I know you well enough to know, you're not one of those types of snobs that slanders what other people like. But I think that's what they're expecting. Now, you may not think Bud Light is a quality beer, but I think they expect you to trash it. Now, you feel free to trash it, but you haven't done that in the past when we've discussed my whiskey preferences and my beer preferences.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a more inflammatory response, I'm not the guy unless it's something genuinely controversial like Peyton Manning's bourbon. But you're
good or bad?
I grew up,
is it garbage?
It's $200, and stop me if we've already talked about this. I've talked about it with other people, but Peyton Manning has a $200 bourbon that's sourced from a distillery that released the same exact liquid for $30. So you could buy it in Peyton Manning's bottle for $200, or you could buy it anywhere for $30 under its original name, which was Dickel 13, Bald and Bond.
Dickel? I'm not drinking anything named Dickel. First of all, I'm not doing that. I'm childish.
You look like you've enjoyed a Dickel or two in your day.
All right, this interview's over. Get out of here. I didn't listen. We're gonna cut that from the record. Strike that. Objection, Your Honor. Badgering the host. So
Bud Light. I have no problem with. I would prefer Bud Heavy, but to be honest with you,
boo. I wish I had a boo on here.
I drink a lot of. I drink a lot of barrel-aged stouts. I'll enjoy a good hazy IPA. But if I'm going to go for something light and crisp, there's nothing wrong with a Bud Light, and it's fun at a Nationals game, right?
Yeah.
Who's gonna hate on a Bud Light at a Nationals game?
Yeah.
But if I were to ever purchase a Budweiser product and bring it into my home, it'll likely be Red Label, not Bud Light.
Okay. Fair enough. Look, I like what I like. I make no apologies for it. You don't have to drink it. I mean the general you, not you specifically, Chris, but
the royal you, yeah.
Yeah, the royal you. People like what they like and don't like what they don't like, and that's fine. I drink Crown and Diet Coke. Actually, I drink Jameson now more than anything. I just shoot Jamie. But I like what I like. I don't drink stouts. I don't like a stout beer. I don't like IPAs. I don't know. It's just, that's my palate. It's like shaming somebody for liking what they like on their pizza. It's just a preference. But I get it. Some people think that it's a cheap beer. Cool, don't drink it.
I don't understand how you can sit here and contradict yourself all within one episode.
Okay.
So you say you like Bud Light, but you don't understand why water gets delivered to people's houses.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
No.
Water in a can, water in a bottle. It's the same.
No. You can what? Okay, let's discuss this because you are one of the few. You are one of the few weirdos left that has water delivered to your house.
It's on the uprise, and let me tell you why. And in 2014, there was a guy that was certified by a German institute as the first water sommelier, and he has gained quite a bit of notoriety. Now I know what you're thinking. Hold on.
You gotta be kidding me.
So water sommelier sounds like a scam, but I did an interview with him. I flew to Los Angeles. I sat down with him for a few, and it's a really good conversation about water and what you put into your body. Tap water, purified water, distilled water, or reverse osmosis water like smart water. It's all fucking garbage for your body. Horrible for hydration. And in fact, if you're drinking alcohol and you consume distilled water, it'll actually pull some of the nutrients from, you'll pee more and you'll pee out the important nutrients you need, which leads to what happens when you drink a lot and you pee out all the good stuff. A hangover.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a great conversation with him. I ended up sitting down with him for about 6 hours. I think the interview was maybe an hour and a half, but we discussed you should be drinking all the time spring water or mineral water. Those two things. If it's tap water, if it's filtered water, if it's all, you're paying money for garbage recycled water, spring water and mineral water have actual nutrients that and it tastes better. An Evian or a Fiji is kind of like more silky. It's great for whenever you're drinking whiskey. I spend quite a bit of time, as you can see, drinking alcohol. And it's important that you try to hold on to what you can, because alcohol is a diuretic and you end up peeing out fluids. So you end up getting dehydrated faster and all that stuff. But his name is Martin Riese, Martin Riese, or just Google water sommelier. His German face and those stupid glasses are pretty iconic. He's a really great guy. And the conversation with
water, I'm going to spell it like Somali pirate. So water, how do you spell it?
SOMM, and it should fill in.
There you go.
There you go.
Water. Okay. Yes, he does look like he's said some racist things in the past.
Oh, dude, you should have heard our conversation off camera. I was like, yeah, you're definitely German.
No doubt about it.
He's actually a really good guy. But I'm telling you, if you were to watch that interview, it would completely change your mind on the water you consume. So about 5 years ago, my wife and I started getting Ozarka delivered to the house. It's the only water we put into our bodies is spring water or mineral water. Okay. Now, we're not snobs. Drink whatever you want.
Nope.
But
hold on.
Good.
Hold on. The wife and I too drink Ozarka. If you've ever watched this show, and I've been on one of my little water kicks that I'll do for 3 or 4 days where I'm like, okay, I got to drink more water. It's always a plastic bottle of Ozarka. It is a 16 or 20 ounce bottle of Ozarka water. It's the only water we drink unless, I fill up a big, what are those? What's the Yetis? Like they have the Yetis that you can put water in. I'll fill that up for the day, or maybe I'll go work in the yard or whatever. No problem with it. But I'm talking about the big plastic water cooler water jugs.
Cuts
What?
down on water bottles. I mean, you could do the Yeti thing, sure, but if you have it in a dispenser, those water jugs get reused. Cuts down on waste, and you're getting it straight from the source. I mean,
It's
how are you gonna put spring water in your Yeti if it doesn't come from a dispenser, from a water bottle? When that cuts down on waste.
no, but I just use the fridge for that. Like, what's wrong with getting the water from the refrigerator? It goes through a filter.
Filtered
What's wrong with
toilet
that?
water.
It's not toilet water. You're not. There's no.
Not good for
I've
you.
never gotten a glass of water and seen poop particles floating around in my Yeti. Never. Not one time.
You got glasses like I do, because I can see them.
Yes, I do have. As a matter of fact. Yeah. I ain't nerded out with you. I just can't see my screen anymore. And plus,
I don't know who.
Yeah.
I don't know who No None is, but they're absolutely right. Your body self alkalizes, so the alkaline water makes no sense. I'm telling you, man. You watch. Oh my God, Nick Gamboa. Are you a mommy? Huge fan of Your Mom's House, Tom Segura's podcast. But if you were to watch that interview, it'll change your mind, and you'll come back and say, you know what? I watched the interview. I learned so much. Chris, I apologize.
No, I
You're
would
right,
never
I'm wrong.
apologize. I would never admit that you were right and I was wrong either. What? No. What I'm saying is you can drink Ozarka. I'm all for that. I would fine. That's all we drink. But I didn't know that people were still getting I thought people just went to the store and got the case of Ozarka bottles like every other normal human being on the planet. I had no idea that they still had those blue bottles delivered.
I think it's pretty cheap too. Still, like
Is
it's
it?
not as bad as you think. Yeah, and you get a cold water dispenser always available. My kids, and you know what? We got a couple critters crawling around, 4 and a 5-year-old. They can pour their own waters. You know, without climbing up onto a sink and knocking a dish over and screwing with a tap. They can just come right up to it, push a button, and go.
Wallace said the fridge filter is trash, Barry. You need a 3-stage filter if you drink. No, bro, hold on. No,
It's trash. It's
no,
trash.
no. God damn it. We
Yeah,
all
you're wrong,
grew
man.
up
Listen.
drinking water out of the goddamn faucet and we're fine. There's nothing wrong with any of us. Why?
I've
All of
just
a sudden now? That's just you had too much testosterone. You're too manly for us.
Yeah. Is that what it is? It's
Yeah.
not garden hose water. That's
No, because look at this full head of hair I got. I got to cut it down. It's too much. There's nothing wrong with tap water. You guys, we don't live in some middle America town where they're fracking and all of the byproducts are in our water and my kid has fucking 8 eyeballs and shit. No, just regular
about the
ass
kid?
water.
For the first time ever, a kid was just born with 3 penises. And I'm gonna say they didn't say
I
it.
just talked about having 2 penises on the show the other day, and I actually messaged the guy and never heard back from him. Surprisingly, there's a dude with 2 dicks out there.
Yeah, well, there was a kid that was just born with 3 of them. It's the first time ever, triphalia, whatever it's called. And they didn't say it was because of the water, but I'm gonna assume it's because of
It's
the water.
not. No, if that were the case, we'd all be walking around with 3 dicks. By the way, koala bears have 2 penises, right?
Can you send me a link for research purposes?
Google it. Just Google koala bears 2
I'll look it up.
penises. And yeah, because there was a lady, I had a story last week that a lady found out she had 2 vaginas during childbirth. 2 vaginas. She goes, I thought I had a really strong hymen. The lady was like, no, you have 2 Virginias down there.
It was in there. Like there was another one that was.
That
kinda
was
like
I don't actually know. I don't know if it was like side by side. Like, do we take the left tunnel or the right? I don't know if it was like a choose your own adventure type thing or if it was like one inside the other. Because that's what I talked about. If I was gonna have 2 penises, I wouldn't want them I would want one inside the other, like with those Russian nesting dolls. And then you could just be like, ah, surprise! You got that extra dick.
The
You know what I
alien
mean?
who opens his mouth. And then
Yeah,
it
and then
comes
you got that
out.
extra
Yeah,
dick. Almost like you go to the bullpen, like, hey, give me the lefty. Give me bring in. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty fascinating.
Just so you can measure tip to tip in one go. You know, I gotta have a huge penis.
Whatever it is, it's double for me. Okay, whatever it ends up being, I double it.
You know what's funny? So to answer questions about the filter, the only good filtered water is really just the cleanest filtered water. That'd be reverse osmosis. But an RO system for a resident is it's pretty expensive. So someone asking for a good filter, unless it's reverse osmosis, I would just stick with bottled spring water, mineral water. Nature already perfected it.
That's not what I'm talking about. Obviously, there's an issue in Flint, Michigan, White Magic. What I'm saying is, in Spring, Texas, the water I get from Quadvest, which is a shitty fucking company, But the water, there's nothing wrong with drinking a glass of that water. There's nothing wrong with that water going into my refrigerator through the little GE filter, out through the tap and into my glass and drinking it. There is literally nothing wrong with that water.
All right, so let me make one argument against it, and I can't support it with science.
Okay.
So take it as rhetoric, but the speculation within and there's a few more water sommeliers now, but the thought process is slow movement. Meaning that, sure, there's nothing wrong with it now, but years and years and years of poor water, it stands to reason that it might make some slow incremental issues in your health. Could be genetic, could be cancer, could be, who knows? I mean, but the idea of drinking either completely pure water or spring water or mineral water from nature that's been unprocessed by us, it stands to reason that it might be the best thing for you long term. Kind of like arguing that, there's a freaking fruit fly hanging around my whiskey glass. But yeah, slow changes, right? So sure, tap water is fine, but let me know in like 10 years when you've got something going on you can't figure out
I'm
what
already
caused it.
46. It's like, don't drink milk. It's making girls get their periods at 8. Like, come on, fam. That's like, are you an anti-vaxxer? Are you like, I'm not getting my kids vaccinated?
Is this the segue into our other?
Let's
this
do
is
it.
the segue to our other fight. All right,
By the
let's do
way,
it.
Wallace Wild said, Barry, you should test your water on the show. Can I buy a kit? Is that a thing? Do they have water testing kits? Does Amazon have a water testing kit? I'll do it live on the show. Let's see. Water testing kit. Have you tested your water?
No, because we don't drink our tap water. So why would I test it?
Okay. Oh yeah, Lab Tech. Water quality tester. It's $14. I'll buy that bitch. Drinking water test kit for home tap. There's little strips. No, I do that for my ketones. I don't need that. I'll buy something. Yeah, we'll do it. Okay, let's talk about the vaccine thing because you had this as one of the topics on our rundown for this section, and you wanted to talk about the recalls or vaccines in general. Are you an anti-vaxxer?
No, but this is the problem with dialogue on this subject is if you say that you don't want to take this round of vaccines because it's too soon and it was only released by the FDA under emergency protocols, right? So it didn't even go through the full process of vetting and human testing under normal circumstances. Mm-hmm. And then what was released today was a statement that Johnson & Johnson is now recalling their vaccines because it's been causing a rash of blood clots.
Now, when you say rash, what I read was a little bit different. There were some people experiencing blood clots, but they said that by and large, it is still a rare and uncommon occurrence for that to happen.
Sure, that is the most accurate way to describe it, but it's happening more than they thought would happen. Mm-hmm. And to the point that now there's some concerns. It's now beyond their threshold of safety, right? Mm-hmm. So in today's environment, really, having the discussion over waiting, 6 people.
Is that really the count? I didn't know that.
The count is 6, but
really?
But that's not it. Hold on. That's not to undersell it. That is beyond the threshold of, and that's the ones they know about. That's beyond the threshold of safety. So my point is the only thing that this proves is that there is those people who are concerned. I'm not anti-vax, but I will take it. I've had a vasectomy. I'm not having any more kids. I'm done. My life is forfeit. I will take it, but I'm not completely comfortable with my wife or my teenage daughters who have years of potential child rearing. She wants to grow up and have a family. I don't want us to find out 10 years from now. And it happens all the time. There are medical things that are released and approved that end up being a huge issue that end up leading to massive lawsuits. My only point in all this is to say that anyone who's been spitting hateful vitriol at people over not wanting to get it, whenever that's a very reasonable concern of the unknown, like I just don't know, and there's not enough safety things happening, that I think that's fair. But anyone who's been hateful and shitty about it, it's now being recalled, right? So shouldn't you cut them a little slack and try to take the more positive approach in your online dialogue? You just said Twitter is poisonous, and that this is part of it. Any kind of discussion over politics or abortion or gay rights, and all of these things lead to really crazy, hateful rhetoric online. And this is no exception. The vaccine discussion is really a delicate one.
I think the vaccine discussion is warranted, but here's the problem. What's the cutoff point for you on how long? Like, because you could be like, well, so if my kid is 12 years old, which is the youngest you need to be right now to qualify to get vaccinated, and let's say, well, I don't know what the effect is going to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now. At what point do you say, well, look, and let's be real, Christopher, there's always going to be people that find a way to manipulate the data that we have, like saying this is not me attacking you, but saying that there's a rash of blood clots when 6 women out of 7 million people, 6 women out of 7 million.
Hold on. Was that 7?
That is on NPR.org. Close to 7 million people have gotten this vaccine in the U.S. to date. 6 women who got the vaccine developed blood clots afterwards.
Right. So half of those are women. This is specific to women.
It says federal. This is update at 1:02 p.m. Eastern time. Federal health officials have called for a pause in the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine after reports that 6 women who got the vaccine developed blood clots afterwards. Close to 7 million people have gotten this vaccine in the U.S. to date.
That's both gender, right? So if you've got a more accurate telling of that would be 3.5. Right?
If we're assuming that it's split down the middle, 50-50 men to women. Sure.
But it's the concern is that it's specifically causing an issue in women, and it's outside the realm of reasonability. Now, I do agree with you. It's a small percentage, but the argument that you're making right now is the exact same argument that people have been making when it comes to even doing the mask mandates and having the vaccines. It's a 99% survival rate. So why do we have to do all this? You're making the same argument that the right has made for so long. And that is why do we have to go through all this? We have to shut our economy down. It's 99% survival rate. It's only 1%. In any other scenario, if you go to a surgery and you say, we're going to have surgery and there's a 99% chance you're going to survive, that in the medical community would be conceived as you're going to be fine. No one is concerned about that 1%. But that's not how we handled COVID. We were like, the 1% was important enough for us to focus on it. Trying to dismiss the story because it's only 6 women is what the right has done so long for COVID. So my thing is this. I am not saying that I just told you I would take the vaccine. In fact, I would take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because apparently it's hurting women, not men. So I'm good. But,
sorry, broads.
And what none mentioned, 1 in 3.5 million is a better percentage than the death rate of COVID. Agreed. I'm not dismissing that.
That's the other thing that's the counterpoint I was going to make to you. Is you said that this is the same thing that the right has been saying, that the mortality rate is less than or 1%. But the difference is we have had 500,000 people die from COVID. We have had 6 women get blood clots.
Sure.
So on one hand, I look at 500,000 deaths and say that is don't just count on the 500,000 people that lost their lives. That's 500,000 families that have been affected by this pandemic as well. So the ripple effect through communities because of this. And you look at the nurses and the doctors that are exhausted, not just from the people that don't die, but from the people that just get hospitalized for weeks and months. So that versus 6 out of 7 million. I mean, I don't think that this is the same kind of argument, really.
No, I don't. It's the structure of the argument. It's the same logic of it's the same exact logic for the argument. Arguing the death rate is not being important in one argument, and then arguing that the death rate is important enough. Also, the 1% death rate is the overall death rate. If you're talking about specifics, someone who's like me, of moderate weight, of normal health, under 35, my death rate was even smaller, even more inconsequential, and yet the vast majority of the working population got shut down because of it, who that death rate was much smaller than that 1%.
But here's what we don't know. Let me make a counterpoint to that.
Yep.
And to your point, which was the opposite of what I was saying earlier, we don't know the long-term effects of that COVID is going to have on you or anybody else that doesn't die from it. My wife was telling me about these people called long haulers who are experiencing severe fatigue and other heart issues
for weeks and months, yeah.
And they don't know how long that could last. You could have heart damage that never gets repaired.
Recovers. Agreed.
So again,
So it's not apples to apples. No, no. To be clear, I'm not making the argument that it's apples to apples. And to answer Virginia buttonweed, it has not been recalled. It's been paused to check.
yeah.
They fully stopped distribution. Anyone who's been doing, there was all of the plant sites were in this side of Houston were doing that specific vaccine on Thursday. That has now been stopped, and they're literally not. They're going to do the Moderna one instead. My only argument is that if anyone who's been saying this entire time, I'm concerned because there's things we don't know. This proves that there are things we don't know that could be problematic for specific people. Just like COVID, COVID was very problematic for specific people, age and gender and weight and all of those factors. The same line of logic is you can't argue one way saying that, oh, rate of death is not important or is important enough to mandate this. You don't want to get the okay now. Okay, so if you
I'm
don't
just
want to
putting
get the
comments
vaccine,
on the screen while you go. Don't get distracted.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
I pull stuff out of the chat and just randomly throw it up there. So
sure. So I'm very new to this. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay.
So yeah, my only point is I think I've been seeing so much hateful rhetoric the last year. We all have, that it just makes me so sad to see people make a moderately reasonable or express a moderately reasonable fear and be just shit all over and trashed online.
And I appreciate that. And I think what Total Dallas was saying is a great point. Are you anti-mask as well?
No. Well, first of all, I'm not anti-vaccine and I'm not anti-mask. I wear masks, and the moment I can book one, which I've tried very much, but the HEB near us and the UTMB near us, I've not been able to book an appointment, but I am trying. I have no question about my own personal health.
It's
if
your
something
wife
happens
and
10 years from now,
and
that's
reasonable.
I'm a little nervous.
And that's reasonable based on the data that it's all women. And look, that's a reasonable to think that way. I think the problem that I have and the problem that other people have is the rational thinking of there are a lot of people that are anti-vaccine strictly from the standpoint of being anti-vaccine because their party tells them to be anti-vaccine, or
Agreed.
the Rush Limbaughs or whatever, person that they
Alex
listen
Jones.
to get their political views instead of coming up with a rational conclusion like you have on your own as a free thinker. The problem is that so many people they allow someone to tell them what to think, tell them how to act, and so they have two stances in this environment. I'm not wearing a mask and I'm not getting a vaccine because because I have very little chance of dying. So fuck you. It's all about freedom. And I think that to me is the polarizing issue here. Yeah. And mask mandates are done for the betterment of the good. It's the same reason we have speed limits. So I don't know. Your take on it, I fully accept and can understand and empathize with. And I think that that's the rationale we need to have is, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense if that's your concern and you have a threshold of let's wait 6 months or, we'll still social distance and wear masks. And so that until we can get the vaccine and feel safe about it, we'll take other precautions. That's a normal, rational way of thinking about it. But the problem is a lot of the anti-vaccine folks are also anti-mask and they think they should just go and be able to cough up and down the HEB aisle and spread whatever it is the fuck that they have. And while the old lady that's coming behind them, well, she can wear her mask. Masks aren't for you. It's for the people around you. You know what I mean? Like that's the bigger problem. It's the people and on both sides too, right? It's the people digging their heels in on both sides.
I fully agree with you, but just having the conversation early on, there are these moments where you automatically take the person, even though we're friends. I would consider you a friend. You put me into a box without even registering. You're like, are you also anti-mask? Well, I never said I was anti-vaccine, right? Like it's this, just trying to explain the intricacies of my stance causes people to assume, oh, this guy is this. Well, no, I'm not. You will never be able to tell whether I'm Republican or Democrat in any of my conversations because, as you said, the people who live in these dogmas are doing the most damage to society. Like, you got to have a more complicated perspective to fully understand the world we live in. And just instead of just saying, nope, I'm left or I'm right, so it has to be, if you're right, you have to be pro-gun. If you're left, you have to be pro-choice. And there's a deeper, people's feelings on things are far more complicated than that,
Yeah. No, it's a great point. It is a great point. And It's unfortunate because you're right. I assumed if you were anti-vaccine that you would be anti-mask, because it feels like that most of the people that are staunchly anti-vaccine because they've been told to be anti-vaccine are also anti-mask because they've been told to be. And I apologize because it wasn't fair to you to assume that. But that's who you come across. I mean, tell the truth. How many people have you met like yourself? How many people have you met either online or offline that think like you think?
It's harder and harder to come by, but when I do find those people, I want to be their best friend, because it's someone that, there's a guy that helps run the Houston Bourbon Society, Todd Grube, that has such a beautiful way of understanding people that it makes every single conversation we have a much more fruitful. Like, I walk away feeling like we solved the world's problems. You know, it's a beautiful perspective to have, and those people who strive for complicated perspectives are way better, and they're so much more important to our society than I think people realize.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, and Justin,
this makes me sick.
You're so
I don't
sweet.
even know why I put that on the screen. Ugh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Hey, how can the people follow you? It's 4:03. I'm way past. How can the people? Did you get the fly? Was that?
No, it's driving me nuts too.
We have like 3 in the house. No, it's that time of year, right? It's just gonna happen. So don't. How can the people follow you? How can they watch Whiskey Neat? How can they keep up with what you have going on now and in the future? Because you got big things popping, Mr. Hart.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we've got, you can check us out on ESPN 97.5 sometime on the weekend. And then and then YouTube and Friday every, YouTube and Audio Boom or podcasting platforms every Friday. This week we've got Carlos Wallace. Do you know him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carlos Wallace. He's coming on the show tomorrow. We're going to be picking apart some of the more recent political debates, including this unfortunate cop shooting that happened that we didn't get to today.
Yep.
And talking about his documentary on poetry. And then next week, we've got Ian Somerhalder and Paul Wesley from the Vampire Diaries. And then if you're a Lucifer fan, not the real Lucifer, but the TV show on Netflix, DB Woodside is coming on the show. The guy who plays Amenadiel will be having a few drinks and talking about Lucifer. So you could check out the show on YouTube. It's a great, go subscribe. And I would love for anyone watching to leave us some reviews on iTunes, because those are always fun to read.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a big thing. If you listen to this show on iTunes, which we're now podcasting, Barry on Deck, if you listen to Whiskey Neat, do us a favor right now. As a matter of fact, if you have an iPhone or you have iTunes or you listen to podcasts via Apple, do Kristopher and I both a favor. Go find the Whiskey Neat podcast. Go find the podcast of Barry on Deck. Give us 5 stars or 4 stars or whatever you think we deserve, and leave us a review. It means so much to us when you do that. You have no idea how important that is, because we all see a podcast and think, should I listen to this? And the first thing you do is check the star ratings and some of the reviews. So it is super important. If you enjoy his show, if you enjoy this show, do it. Go support both of them.
Wow.
That's
so
the
nice.
message. Yeah. All right, dude, this is fun. I really look forward to Tuesdays now, even though Justin said they get smarter. He didn't say that about me. He just said that about you, which is fine. That's whatever. But it really is fun, man. I enjoy these debates. This is what we wanted to do. And I kind of like that it's happening, that it's happening naturally. So I really appreciate it. Look, Michael said he just subscribed to the pod. Dolph Lundgren will be my first listen. So make sure you leave him a review, Michael. Please make sure you leave him a review as well. Hit that 5-star. All the deckheads, go support Kristopher. If you're enjoying him on the show, go support the Whiskey Neat podcast. Hey, buddy, I appreciate you.
Real quick, you normally sign your show off, and what do you normally say at the end?
Daddy's making a YouTube video. Oh, be safe, be kind, love each other. Yeah.
That's all that whole discussion was. Is
absolutely
try real hard to de-escalate some of the vitriol online. Love each other. It's not hard. And if you're having trouble, have a few of these, and the love tends to come right out.
Daddy's making a YouTube video.